Hello lovely people, welcome back to another book chat. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about a book that we're reading over in the Facebook group. And if you've been following me on social media or reading the newsletters or that sort of thing, you may know that I am part of a Facebook group called Worlds of Wit and Wonder. And it's a really fun group that I set up with a couple of other authors, and it's not about us going, oh look at our books, buy our books, buy our books, or anything like that. It is about us sharing really bad jokes, terrible puns, normally some quite silly gifs, and generally getting a little bit geeky over the books we love. So it's been great fun so far. Last month we started, so in September we started our very first Author of the Month and Book of the Month. So we read, at the beginning of the month we gave away a copy of American Gods by Neil Gaiman, and then we did a read-along for the rest of the month, and we had some really fantastic discussions. We've got some wonderful people in the group, and it's been great fun, so we decided to continue it. And this month, for October, we are doing H.P. Lovecraft, and we are reading Call of Cthulhu? Cthulhu, I think. I have looked up how to pronounce this. I have even listened to people pronouncing it, and I'm still pretty sure I'm getting it wrong. But, you know, having said that, I still can't say Hermione. Hermione? The best witch of her generation, the one from Harry Potter. Yeah, still can't say her name. Doesn't matter how many times I hear it. Same with Cthulhu, having the same issues. Anyway, you'll have to bear with me on that one because I'm going to have to say it a few times. So, right, Call of Cthulhu. Anyway, the two things that most people know about Lovecraft is, first off, that he is considered one of the fathers of modern horror, because his Cthulhu mythos has had an enormous impact, not just on writers, but also on storytellers of all sorts, whether that's artists or screenwriters, filmmakers. It's really his version of reality where the world is just this thin skin over a void filled with these uncaring, indifferent gods whom to look upon is impossible. It would send you insane. That has permeated, even if people aren't using the actual Cthulhu monster, that sense of reality has really permeated a lot of the storytelling culture of our world. So yeah, so he's a very important writer in that sense. But the second thing that most people also know about H.P. Lovecraft is he was a horrendous racist. And for me, I actually find it really difficult to separate the man from the stories. I can do that with quite a lot of authors, particularly older authors, but for me, his sense of dread and terror is so tied up with the sense of people who come from other cultures or who don't look like him. And I found that very hard, rereading as an adult, to separate that out. As a teenager, I don't think I noticed so much. I didn't really pick up on the language she used. Rereading it now with a lot more awareness, yeah, it's really difficult for me to sort of push that aside. He talks about people as mongrels, anyone that looks different as having low intellect, or they're always the ones that are involved in these terrible cults and this sort of thing. So it's not comfortable reading, not at all. I do probably intend to continue to reread some of his stories, but I do wonder exactly what my tolerance for them is going to be these days. But at the same time, he was an excellent author with quite an incredible imagination, and the world that he created is just astonishing, despite the fact that it was a white male world. Women are also pretty much non-existent. Every now and then you'll have a housekeeper or a wife mentioned in passing, but yeah, it's very much in passing. So yeah, it was a really, really interesting reread for me. What I'm really interested in is that because the Cthulhu mythos is unavoidable, because it has permeated the storytelling culture so much, it is actually beginning to be reclaimed. So by female authors, by people of colour, people are starting to sort of remake the Cthulhu mythos without losing that incredible concept he had of the world. they're remaking it to become more inclusive and more representative of what the world actually is. So I'm really interested to read some of these new books which are coming out. So my question to you is, have you read any of the new Cthulhu Mythos books? And if so, what would you recommend to me? And by that I mean ones which are actual sort of deliberate rewritings, because obviously the Cthulhu mythos permeates in everything. I mean, even if you read a couple of my silly short stories on the website, like The Chicken in the Universe, or even Dangers of a Mini Break, which is a more recent one, both of those short stories take aspects of the Cthulhu mythos and play with it a little bit, because it's always been there ever since I read, you know, not just Lovecraft as a kid, but so many other stories I've read where there have been that part of this terrible, terrifying, unseen universe that's just beyond ours, just beyond the veil sort of thing. So, yes, let me know if you've read any of those. I'd also like to know what your thoughts are on Lovecraft, and if you've read him, if you enjoyed him. The other thing with him is he's very heavy on the purple prose. He loves to over-describe. But at the same time, he does it in a very interesting way, because quite often, not in all the tales obviously, but quite often everything's coming second hand. So it's being told through journals, through letters, through travellers' accounts, and often the protagonist isn't actually even experiencing seeing these monolithic cultures, these incredible beasts or anything himself. So at the same time as getting very into the purple prose and over-describing, he also leaves an awful lot to your imagination, because you're interpreting these stories along with the protagonist. So it's quite interesting. And then he also just has some absolutely fantastic imagery, just stuff that sticks with you. And I'm actually going to close, I'm going to read you the last couple of paragraphs of The Call of Cthulhu. So, you know, close your ears or switch the video off now if you haven't finished reading it. Spoiler alert, that sort of thing. So, here we go. Cthulhu still lives, too, I suppose, again in that chasm of stone which has shielded him since the sun was young. His accursed city is sunken once more, for the Vigilance sailed over the spot after the April storm, but his ministers on earth still bellow and prance and slay around idol-capped monoliths and lonely places. He must have been trapped by the sinking lost within his black abyss, or else the world would by now be screaming with fright and frenzy. Who knows the end? What has risen may sink, and what has sunk may rise. Loathsomeness waits and dreams in the deep, and decay spreads over the tottering cities of men. A time will come, but I must not and cannot think. Let me pray that, if I do not survive this manuscript, my executors may put caution before audacity, and see that it meets no other eye. Decay spreads over the tottering cities of men. I mean, that is fantastic. That is just an incredible line. So, yeah, lots of good points to Lovecraft. Some pretty hefty negative points as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and yeah, let me know below, and we'll chat to you soon.